All right, everybody, let's see if you guys can hear me here. Do a quick little sound check. See if I can hear it on my end. I can hear myself on mine. You guys let me know if you guys can hear me all right. See what your delay is tonight. Let's see. Check, check, check. Can you guys hear me? Josh is already grabbing tickets. Well, I guess Josh's daughter's probably grabbing tickets. Yes, okay, cool. All right, just want to make sure. Like I said, everybody's delay is a little bit different, so depending on where you are, what type of connection it is, etc. Um, I obviously have a very fast one. Signal comes out and comes right back again, so it's very a little bit different for me. All right, so special session tonight. Obviously, we're doing it a bit earlier. I have a game that I need to head off to at 8:30, so I need to make sure that we get everything in tonight. I'm sure people will be watching replays, but we're going to kind of run through and do what we need to do, get everything out of the way. So, obviously, today was the big Brexit day. We had talked about it last night. We talked about it price being at 141. We talked about Nadex strikes going back down to 140. It actually closed much lower than that. There was a number of different ways you could have traded it today. Nadex didn't really jack the volatility spread at all. Typically, for big news releases, there's so much premium jacked into those things. It's just so hard to, really get anything that's good. But today they didn't do it, so I wasn't going to complain. It was an easy way to make some money. Um, definitely, definitely got to love when they're asleep at the wheel. There's no other way to kind of explain it. But hey, is what it is. I'm not worried about it. Like I said, if anybody else was out there grabbing money on that one, um, good job. I know Ernest got some. I know a couple other people did as well. Like I said, it was pretty easy money to get today. When you see something like that and they don't put, again, something as big as Brexit, I'm sorry, it should be a no-brainer. You should be able to grab that with no problems. All right, so as you guys can see, the core sales for Canada was down today, more so than expected, both core and as well as retail, which is pretty interesting that they were both off that much. Now you can see that in the last 24 hours, again, it's kind of sporadic, right, over the last hour and 24 hours, but it's only down 8. Um, Again, I think a lot of that too has to do with basically the election, right? Um, Election. So basically, to make a long story short, so the ruling party basically got to stay in power. Okay, they did it though with a minority government, which basically means that, I mean, for some reason they could do a vote in a year and a half. I think somebody quoted to me today that the average minority government only lasted about a year and a half. So will be interesting to see what happens with that one. All right, so we'll see how that one goes. Let me bring this across over. All right. Besides that, you can see the pound was really the only thing that moved. The euro was obviously down a little bit, but the pound dollar and pound yen were both down big. And again, we talked about that last night. We were bumping off technical levels on the top side, and we saw that weakness. We also saw euro weakness, and again, that chart moved as well. So a couple different ways you could have taken that and played it. Again, it is what it is. All right. Looking into tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow is pretty interesting, right? Tomorrow is showing nothing right now. And I was kind of messing around with this earlier. I was like, wait a second, we have crude oil tomorrow. It's been there all week. But it's funny, when you go down and I click low impact news, then all of a sudden, boom, all this stuff pops up. So I don't know if just everything is popping up or if it's broken maybe or not. But it's interesting that crude oil goes from like a high down all the way to a low for as far as, influence goes. So not really sure about that one. So we do have the actual contest up. And again, the contest is it going to be above or below what supply is this time? A little bit different, Vanessa. I don't think that you've been in here for this one, but so every night we do the 25 pip chip giveaway, and you just do exclamation point ticket. For the contest, basically what you have to do is you have to decide whether or not in this case, it's whether the oil inventory report, okay, it's forecasted to be 2.5. So basically, you can assume that it's going to be above or below, and it's kind of like a betting, right? So in this case, you would do exclamation point bet above or below, okay? And again, that's of the forecast. And what it does is it will take pip chips from you, and then you split a pool, okay? Um, let's see, we'll do, I think that one will work. There we go. So you guys can see how that one works, all right? Oh, it actually should say, hold on. Let me make sure that I'm doing this right. It's actually all right. So it says this, but it's actually, if you look at it, it's the copy. It's actually above 2.5, not 2.3. I just didn't change the text in there. But it is 2.5, not again the minus zero point 0.3. Actually, you know what? I'll just actually refund it real quick. Yep. Okay. Let me do this again here. I will clone that one, and I will change this. Is it going? Somebody will say something. They'll be like, "Hey, wait a second." All right, there we go. Above, below. All right, perfect. Great. And I'll put the same thing back in again. Exclamation point, bet above 30. There we go. All right, so there you can see it. So that's new for you, Vanessa. All right, so basically going into tomorrow, really not a whole lot of high impact news. I think a lot of I think again, Brexit is still going to dominate things. You guys can see down here. I'm told Johnson is ready to accept a 10-day Brexit delay. Looks like he's backing off a little bit. Looking in today, obviously he got one of his passed, but then it was interesting. So he got his first one saying, yeah, okay, we're good with it, passed. And then right after that, he wanted to fast track the exit, and they rejected that one, which was kind of interesting, right? I don't know if he just got overzealous or greedy or was excited that there was a plus in there, but you'll notice inside of it, basically price spiked up and then turned around and then it collapsed right down again real fast. So kind of an interesting way to take it. Again, if you were playing a standard news breakout with Nadex from the News Trader course, you actually would have made money on both sides of this one. Not only did it spike up, but it turned around and spiked back down again. Ernest was one of the ones that got it from both sides, and it's always nice when that happens. It is very rare, though, that we get a Brexit vote where there's a pass and then a reject, 16 minutes later. So funny how that worked out, but doesn't mean it doesn't happen, pretty frequently. All right. So again, I think Brexit is going to dominate the headlines. The more news that we hear, eventually they're going to run out of stock photos for this. It's pretty funny, right? That he's got all these different kind of poses, but he's going to run out of some stuff. I don't think he's going to get the acceleration. I think he's trying to rush it. I don't think people trust that. He's talking about trying to do an election to remove people, but I think he should just play nice. He already got one of it passed. Just stay with it. Don't go with the fast track. Just go with the standard. Get a 10-day delay. It's not the end of the world. It's already been delayed for 6 months. Get it, go, and then at least you can claim victory and you'll be in power for quite some time. Okay. Don't be a May trying to get a bad deal. And in all essence, this is really not much different than the deal anyway. All right. So with that being said, let's jump over into charts and see what we have for today. All right. So first thing we're looking at, again, we talked about this one last night, the Aussie Yen, and we talked about it not really being that great of really an uptrend. Again, we did have the white space and the momentum breakout, but the problem was really if we could get those 13 pips in, or I'm sorry, the 36 pips in, it was kind of a gift because we were buying into an area of selling, and we talked about we have levels of basing as well as a big kind of zone right above it. So even though it was a gap, it pushed off. There was obviously sell trades in here. Once we got the white space, yes, there was a way to kind of take off, and it did go back up again. But again, very, very risky long to go in this one. It was definitely more of a short-term trade than anything else, right? So you just got to be careful with that one. Now, where we are now, it did pull back, and it's still really kind of sitting right inside of that gap zone, right? That gap that we saw really kind of from over here from the daily, again, extending across, that's where price is. Now, it did kind of push in, but get sucked right back in, didn't create any white space to go to the downside. Again, I think right now this is more than anything else. This is a dollar story. This is not really affected necessarily by the pound or the euro, but it is truly a pound. This is truly a dollar story. Again, inflation, gold, yen, obviously, the U.S. indices. So again, kind of wedged in, and it's not like you guys saw the end of the day what the indices did. They just collapsed through the floor. Um, you know, and you see, what happened here. This rallied up because of it. So kind of one of those things, right? Is there a big kind of major trend on this one? Not really. We are starting, again, it is technically right now in an uptrend setup, but it's that uptrend setup into an area of supply. Typically no, and then on the 4-hour, you guys can see we have lower highs and we have lower lows. So we've technically confirmed that we are switching into a downtrend. So we'll see if it can go down. Again, this area right here, I'll mark it off for you guys real quick. This area right here is a pretty legit zone, right? So again, we're wedged between this kind of top on the higher time frame and then this bottom section right here on like the intermediate and the lower time frame. So not really the best trading opportunity right now, unfortunately. like I said, when the markets are kind of funky like they are with something like Brexit, you got to strike where you can and then stay out of the way until you can find something else good. It definitely takes some patience. Okay, going into Aussie New Zealand. Okay, you can see Aussie New Zealand. What did it do? Remember we talked about this buying area below? I mean, it literally grazed right off of it, right? I mean, here's the 19 candle right now. Going back, you'll see that here's where the 19 candle is. It's where we were last night, right? You guys will see on the lower time frame, it says 19 right down here at the very, very bottom. Okay. Going back to the same spot where we were last night was right here. Okay. Again, a little bit higher. And what did it do? It came all the way down. It touched that zone and then repopped back up again. Now, it did kind of do what you expected it to do. You guys see the level of basing here that happened about halfway through chart school. I'll extend that out. You guys see this level right here of basing where it ground down, went sideways, and then popped. If you extend that across, look what it just happened to run into, right? So again, it followed where it's supposed to. It's not magic that it came here and, again, it hit 3 different times and got turned around. Again, it's from that area. I mean, you could have actually technically drawn this. I mean, if you really wanted to, just take the body and the wick. And again, you can see that's really the line that it kind of drew on. But, something like that, you would draw the whole piece just on other time frames. So where we are now, again, what do we have? Yes, we have a downtrend setup, but it's into an area of buyers. Same situation that we saw just a second ago, but in this case, is it an area you want to sell in? Probably not. Is it going back to grab orders? Yes, but it's much better to wait until this one kind of bursts through one of the two zones, right? I mean, literally, we're going to start, channeling sideways on this one, and unfortunately, the channel is only what 25 pips. Okay, anything you take in this one is be very, very short term, and again, in a non-liquid pair. Why risk 4 pips on something that's, again, you guys can look at the spread in the upper right-hand corner. It's, it's fluctuating between 3 and 4 pips, right? Why take 4 pips of spread for only a 25 pip gain? It just doesn't make any sense. That's almost, basically 20% of the, the actual move that we can get. So again, we either need to break through the bottom or start kind of rallying back up and then some type of a momentum breakout through the top side, channeling, targeting somewhere over here at the 107.80 mark. Okay, looking at Aussie dollar. Ernest made it. Yay! Ernest, we're doing the thing above or below 2.5 mil for oil. James is not here yet because he'd be all over this one. All right. So talked about this one as well, right? What did we do? We drove back up again, and what was its response? It got turned back down again, right? Now we do have descending wicks, which I do love. We do have a lower low, or I'm sorry, a lower high, which I love. The low red here, and then a low red here. So everything is saying that we are in a, switching to a downtrend on the intermediate time frame. Whoop, I'm going to sneeze. Hopefully I got that muted right in time so I didn't sneeze in your ear there. All right, here's the one problem with this one, okay? There is an area of buyers sitting right here, right? Again, where did it gap? It gapped right into a zone, formed a nice little base, and then boom, it popped out of it. You guys can see that over here as well. Kind of went sideways, and that was kind of the takeoff point. So although we are switching, we do have to be cautious in this area. So for me, what I would do is I'd take this gold, and what I would do is I'd place it just on the other side of that zone, down at 68.37. Okay, have that be your alert. Again, if you guys don't know how to set alerts on this program, if you're using IG, again, you just go hit alert here, and you could set it to price level, and it'll alert you on your phone. If you're using MT4, just go to the bottom. There's an alert tab. Click on the tab and create a new alert. Same thing. You can set it for a notification. Again, even better, set it up to your email so you get the notification to your phone right away. But what you can do is, again, look for a momentum breakout to the downside. Wait till we blow through that. It's probably going to bounce somewhere in this area. You can see, I mean, it's been a lot of candles. It didn't have a huge explosive move, but it'll most likely, do one of these things. If it breaks here and doesn't continue to push higher, it'll probably come into here, base, then come back and retest that zone. And then we can have like a Harry Potter down to probably about that level, right? Somewhere in here, right? 67.85-ish, okay? Is where I'd be kind of looking for some type of momentum breakout. And we'll see. It may do it tomorrow. It may wait till Thursday till we actually have a little bit more news. Okay, like I said, tomorrow is pretty anemic as far as news goes. It's just oil, all right? Looking at pound Aussie, okay? So, do you think this one moved today? A little bit. Not as much though, right? You can see here was that one big candle. That candle was only 140 pips. So still quite a bit of movement, right? Not a gigantic kind of push all the way back down again. This one has been kind of bouncing back and forth, and it's actually more like that, right? And you can see on the lower time frame what's really kind of driving this one. But this one has been doing, and again, taking the bodies, it's about 155 pips, right? 155 up, 155 down, 155 up, 155 down, 155 up, and it's literally been going back and forth, right? Again, it looks small because, again, the scaling, but it's more like this is what it's been doing. Again, channeling back and forth. And again, you can see the large extended range drop here, right? Long extended range candle. And again, here, it's the same thing. It's more, for scale, it's probably more like that is really actually what it looks like, okay? Versus, just the automatic sizing where you're like, oh, that's nothing at all. That's a pretty big candle. I mean, again, in one 30-minute window here, it went from here all the way down, and you guys can see. That's 135 pips in 35 minutes. Okay, the ATR during this time frame, again, I'll take it from here, like this, these middle peaks, is only about 31, and it moved 135. So it moved 100 pips more in that one candle. Now, also, though, interesting enough, look where it was, right? Where was it? Where did it come up to? Well, it just happened to come up to the top of that channel, right? If we talk about kind of an upper area, whoops, not that one. We can talk about here. That's, in this area where these kind of wicks and things are. Bam here, bam here, bam here, bam here, bam here, and bam here, and then collapse. Okay. So interesting. Again, is it a great drawn channel? Not really. I mean, like I said, is it, am I drawing it just, again, a lot of wicks and things like that, but you guys get the idea. You can see hit multiple times inside of that same area using this. Now, we'd have to dive to the lower time frame to see where the basing area is, but I mean, drawing a bottom here, all right? Again, same thing. That bottom's easy, right? Here's the base. Kind of came up, went down, went right above it. Up, down, up, up, down, up, down, up, down. So interesting channel that one's been following. So where we're right now, again, nothing's actually been solved. There was a yes and a no with Brexit. So again, at this point, we're kind of at the bottom of the channel. I've talked about this one kind of coming back down again. It didn't do it in one, but I'm still thinking that 86 is a potential target here long term. Going back down, actually, we'd probably take this probably to there. 186.17, a little bit above. That gets you in right before this kind of, you're front running the move. But I think that's, again, with as fast as that went up, obviously, yes, there are a lot of wicks back and forth. But again, this pair is going to be a bit more volatile just because it's not considered one of the majors. And again, you guys can see the difference in spread here. Quite large, but it's because it moves a ton. So not always the best thing to trade when you have a spread this large. Okay. Looking at euro pound. So, what did we see? We had this level of basing that we had marked off last night, and we ran into it at 8:30, and we ran into it again at 11. And then what we saw price do is we started seeing price go down, 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 down. And right here was 2 o'clock when the vote happened. Okay, and you can kind of see a spike up and down. You guys see this candle right here? Okay, this candle right here, you can see a spike of volatility up and down. It's like, oh God, what's happening, right? It was up and then it was down, and then all of a sudden what happened? Boom, it launched up, okay? Now, that bit of movement right there was about 60 pips, okay? And again, at the end of the day, if it was two negatives, it would have been much, much worse than what it was, but it was one positive, one negative, so it was slightly blunted. Nothing's actually changed. I mean, like I said, it's kind of like, oh, are we going to delay it? Are we not going to delay it? I mean, we're not at the actual deadline yet, so we're not quite there. But what it did is it pulled back up again, and again, you guys can see here in the 4-hour, it has pulled back into, again, this purple area of basing that we've had marked off for a while, okay? So, hasn't left the area, but you can see what's going to happen. As soon as we start talking about good stuff, what happens to this pair? This thing starts to drop. So one telltale sign that we have right now for this pair is the fact that every time we are getting good news about Brexit, like it's going to happen finally, pound strength steps in. So the market is very much into the UK leaving the European Union, okay, as far as the economy goes. So with that being said, as we get closer and closer to the actual deadline here, unless they just say, hey, listen, we're having a new election, we give up, Brexit's not happening, which I don't think that's going to happen right now, it looks like the market wants this to happen. So anytime we have Brexit news, we always have to be thinking, hey, listen, this could be another opportunity for this pound strength to step in. Could we potentially be taking a position short? And again, taking in spot currency, probably not. Taking it in Nadex with limited risk, yeah, absolutely. Okay, it's a little bit easier to be able to take. Okay, now switching over to Euro Yen, there was a little tiny bit of movement today in Euro Yen, but you guys will say it was more or less down, right? It was down red for the day. And was it huge? No. I mean, here's where we are right now. here's where we were last night. And we talked about this. We were putting in a bit of a lower high, right around here. Okay. And we said, well, listen, we had a failure to go higher. We had like, lower high here. What would it do? It came up, it retested that same zone, and that's where it kind of took off from. So, was this the best one to trade today? Don't know, but we talked about it last night. It being, yes, it's pulling back. Is it, should we be going, long because it's an uptrend setup? And the answer was no, because we were in an area of buyer, or I'm sorry, an area of sellers. And what did we see? We saw price kind of turn and start to push to the downside. Wasn't explosive, but at this point we do have our red. It did make an attempt to go up. We had a little bit of a green, and we're already getting back in a red again. And technically, if we're just using bodies, you can see we have a red, green, and red right here. Okay, so here to here, actually, it would be this one right there. There's your confirmation of a trend change. Okay, we got that confirmation in, and you can see price is pushed a little bit lower. Now it does have a step here; it's got to hit a step here, so it does have some, some speed bumps and things like that to the downside that I would definitely be cautious with. But again, is it a place to go short? Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be. Um, this could be a nice little opportunity. And again, it's because, again, on the larger time frame, we are seeing sellers and supply zones up there in that area, even though we were definitely in an uptrend. Okay, so we'll see what it's able to do if it's able to put a lower low in on this piece. And that'll be a trigger for a lot of people to start jumping in short on this one. Now, looking at euro dollar. All right, what did euro dollar do? Okay, euro almost the same exact move as the euro yen. It pushed down again. This one did it a little bit higher. You guys can see you had a red, green, red right here, basically. Again, that was Monday earlier in the day, and again, nothing explosive, but same situation. We had this level here. We had this one little bit right here, the single wick right above the zone, and that's exactly. I mean, it was almost the, here, you guys can see it, almost to like the perfect kind of piece right here. It hit, boom, and right back down again. So. Um, Same scenario, right? Definitely bearish, okay? But this one as well. You got buyers right here. You have buyers right here. You have buyers right here. Again, your target would most likely be down here at 101. Was it? I'm sorry, 110.47. Um, Something along the lines of down here, I think would be it. Something like that. That's not straight. Really need like there we go. Something like that. Um, would be a potential profit target that I'm looking for. And just because of the speed up, I don't think this is just a pullback to go higher. I mean, I guess it could, but I'd be kind of surprised because we've seen so much selling inside of this area. And if we do get any type of a pop, again, this 112.50 is definitely a trigger for me to be getting short. Okay. Looking at Euro Aussie. So it is absolutely pouring rain, and the commissioner's already said if it's not thundering and lightning, we're playing tonight. And everybody's like, really? Do we have to? And then somebody sends out a post and says, don't be the reason we forfeit because you're a pansy. Because everybody's trying to find a reason not to go tonight. All right, you're Aussie. Plain and simple. One thing that just screams right out is this. Okay, is that little zone right there. Again, we've seen price hit it. If you look back, there was no reason besides, again, there was something that made it turn there. Obviously, buyers are stepping in at some point. We've seen that hit here, and now it's right along the top of it. Is it a time for me to go long? Probably not right now because we are in a downtrend setup situation. Question is, because this zone has been hit so deeply, does it have the potential or does it have the power to stop it again? And as much as it was pierced here, I liked how it was starting to put higher highs in here with the wicks. But now, I mean, it's been through the bottom, through the bottom, through the bottom, almost through the bottom. So really, I think once we can kind of push down to that, once we break below this 162.04, I think this one's going to continue to go to the downside. In which case, again, then that potential profit is going to be, down into this. Okay. Uh, but again, we did talk about this. Again, it did pierce above. It did come back up on the daily. It did, again, did it spend a lot of time there? No. I mean, it came up and then kind of went over a little and then dropped. So it was a very, very fast short on this one. If you were able to catch this, that actually came in last Wednesday. So, I mean, it went to, it closed, let's see, right here on Friday. Okay, so didn't quite go all the way down to profit target. It did go to the start of that move, so it is a trade that would have been viable. Since that time, it is down, but it's not down big. So I wouldn't quite say there's a huge missed opportunity because, again, I'm not going to advocate holding positions over the weekend. Oh, check this out, guys. I did find a funded group or a group of, like, it's an organization that funds traders that actually will let you hold positions over the weekend. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I was like, huh, really? You can hold them over the weekend now, which is something that it's not new for them. It's something they've actually had for a while, and that they're actually into longer term positions. It's more of a swing trader slash long term currency trading. And that's like the main focus, not day trading, um, which I thought was interesting. All right. Again, so that's what we have here. I'm looking for somewhat of a momentum breakout to the downside. I'm not necessarily going to take a long off of this. I'm going to see what it's going to do with this zone first, because again, we're sitting right on top of it. Pound yen. So pound yen was pretty easy. There's not really too much to say about pound yen. We talked about it last night. We went off a daily zone here. We went off a 4-hour zone. You guys saw that one. Here's a 30-minute zone. Okay, again, this is inside of the 4-hour zone, but let's break it down and say, hey, listen, look at this little pop right here, right? Came up, went down, went over, right? Rally, base, and then drop again. So if we took this as an actual zone here, where did it happen to bounce into? Oh, look at that. Right there. 2 o'clock. Bam, slam right into it. What did it do? Straight down. Okay. And how much did it move? It went in 30 minutes, 150 pips. Okay. So last night we were talking about basically going from 141 to go down to 140. Right. Let's see. 140 is right there. Okay. That's what we were talking about. Could price touch that area? Well, guess what? It absolutely touched that area. It was done. I took a 2-hour binary on this one. I took a 1 to 3, and I was definitely out. Had you taken the daily, again, same situation. You were still out, and again, well beyond. The risk on those things were very, very tiny. Let me see. I actually took some screenshots of it. Where is it? Not that one. No, not that one. That's the first one. That's the second one. I have it in here somewhere. Unfortunately, I have so many screenshots. Let's see if this one's it. Yes, that's it. Okay. So you guys can see there was an hour and a half on this one. So check this one out as far as binaries go. This is actually, I'm sorry, this was on the pound dollar, not the pound yen. But again, the chart's basically the same here. I'll save this and I'll bring that one back over the next one. So you guys can see, very, very easy grab right off the 30 minutes. So let's look at the pound dollar. Again, last time we talked about pound yen. Pound dollar was actually the one that I took. So again, same situation. What did we see? Okay, where did this thing pop into? Well, we saw it pop right into an area, again, of basing sideways. Went off the daily, went off the 4-hour, went all the way down, rallied ahead of time right into that zone, signaling, again, signaling what? Whenever we see news beforehand rally into something, we're looking for sellers. So check it out. On this one, okay, when price bucked up into here at 2 o'clock, again, this is 2 o'clock exactly, by 2:30, again, we were down here and we were 120 pips down, and we were at lowest one you could get over here. Again, this was an hour and a half left to go, right? This is at 1:30, 30 minutes before the release. You could have taken $18 worth of risk, and that was going to 129.14, and it was at 129.37. So you basically needed to go, what, 20 pips, right? You needed 20 pips to be able to make $80 per contract. And instead of going 20 pips, it went 123. Okay. So you guys can see how explosive of a move that was and how, off the ball the market makers were for that one. Great, great opportunity. Like I said, that's why I took this one so you guys could see it. I can zoom in just a bit more for it. You guys can see her here. Yes, that was too small. There you go. And again, that was the bottommost one. Okay, the dailies were even better. Okay, and again, that's the power of something like this. Now, when it spiked up in the air, did this go immediately to profit target? No. No, this trade actually was losing a little bit, right? Because at this point, the indicative was over here. It did actually spike, right? It spiked up to 129, 74? So it went up a bit on the top side, and then what happened to the bottom side? Boom, it collapsed all the way through. And then I think it's here. No, that's the yen one. Sorry. I have, like I said, I have lots of screenshots. It look like that one. Then you have this one. Okay, now this one you guys can see the difference, right? So this one we have an hour and 29, and this one you have an hour 1, and this is where the price spiked. Okay, so here was the proof that, hey, listen, it was actually negative, but at the same time, had you taken those upper positions, had you taken the top side for the actual news breakout strategy, you could have done the same thing, right? You guys look right here. The indicative again was 129.37, right? Which would have been right in this range. You could have risked $15 or $13 for it to move up to here. Okay, here's, again, $13 risk to get to 129.74. Well, where is it right now? And you guys can see the difference, right? This one has an hour and 29 minutes. This one has an hour and 1 minute. So 29 minutes later, what happened? It spiked 24. Boom, you were out on the top side. And we already know what the last one looked like, right? The last one was, all the way through the bottom. So this is why Nadex is so important. But at the end of the day, what did we see? He was in his zone one way or the other, on the daily, on the 4 hour, on the 30 minute. So both the pound yen as well as the pound dollar. And again, telltale sign the market knew what it was doing. Okay, what did it do from 11 o'clock in the morning? Rallied up, went sideways, rallied again, rallied again, rallied again, right until the 2 o'clock vote. Got a good price to sell, and then bam, it collapsed. Okay, so again, at the end of the day, does news matter? No. News is just the catalyst to drive things where they are going to go anyway. Okay, so it was the perfect opportunity on that today. I am not a stock options person, Sam. I'm a forex. I do Nadex, and part of the reason I don't do stocks is because my wife is a financial advisor, and I'm unable to because of the regulations that are placed on her. Unfortunately, that's one of those things a lot of people don't realize, that when you are a financial advisor, it affects you and your spouse. So I know how to trade them, but unfortunately, because my wife is regulated, I cannot trade them. So, a good question. It's always important to know. But the strategies that I go over, Sam, are exactly the same one way they're the. It doesn't really matter. When you understand what an option does, you could do the same exact thing on any single stock that you wanted to. But again, we'll talk about indices in there. Those are things that I can trade. But I even have to have, like, my retirement accounts. They actually have to be at a specific broker. I don't even get to choose which broker. Are there forex derivatives like options? I mean, there's forex options out there. Nadex is a great way to play it as well. I actually prefer Nadex options on forex better than the actual forex options that exist. When forex options were coming out, I remember we didn't have forex options. I was super excited. I was like, yes, I can use all the option strategies that I know in the forex realm, which I'm all over. Which I'm, again, being 24 hours a day, I like it a lot better. Problem was they came out and they were horrible, and I didn't like them. But I do like trading them in Nadex just because of opportunities like this. I absolutely love trading news, and it gives you great, again, using that kind of limited risk going into things. It's a great way to trade. I love it. Could we meet your spouse too? Maybe, maybe. She tried to trade and didn't. She just wasn't good at it. She couldn't stay focused, and she kind of fell into financial advising, which was kind of funny. She's actually, I guess, she's not fully licensed yet. I think she has our first. She's her CFP. I guess she's doing financial planning right now, and then she has her test coming up pretty soon. But again, the company regulates her, so I can't do anything. But yeah, you can meet her. Most people would rather meet the baby, not the wife. But if you want to meet the wife, you're more than welcome to. Maybe I'll try to bring her to Texas. A financial advisor. Yeah. Actually, what's interesting enough is most financial advisors know nothing about trading. They actually don't trade. I know that because I used to be a financial advisor. I used to work for Fargo. They are told that they're not supposed to look at charts, they're not supposed to trade, they are supposed to put them in the, and they also don't really deal with trading. So a financial advisor gets paid by basically assets under management. So and cash is not considered an asset. Okay, so if you had an entire portfolio in cash, the firm and the advisor don't get paid. Okay, they only get paid for the assets, basically meaning the mutual funds, the stocks, those kinds of things under management. So it's one of those things. A lot of people think, oh, well, I have $250,000 there, but I'm going to leave it in cash because I'm going to tell them to buy and sell stocks every day, which would be a horrible idea. First off, they are not trained on how to trade the markets whatsoever. Okay, that was actually the biggest problem for me as a financial advisor. I was like, I ethically I cannot put somebody into this when I know this is going to go down. And like, you don't know that. I was like, no, I can tell you it's going to.
And I was like, I'm not going to put somebody in this and tell them that, hey, don't worry, you're in this for the long haul. Don't worry. Yeah, I just couldn't do it. So, but there are people out there that do need, help and planning and stuff like that. And it is a very valid profession. There's definitely a lot of people that have no idea how to manage things, and if they left, if it's left to themselves, they would blow it themselves. No, FAs don't predict price points whatsoever. Nope, they don't do any of that stuff. Literally what they do is they base things off kind of like statistical analysis. And sometimes there are analysts higher up that say, okay, listen, these things are good. But what they're going to do is they're going to diversify you. And what they'll do is they'll use something like a diversification table that will show you all different types of asset classes. And some years they go up, and then that same year other things go down, but the goal is you want to kind of be in the middle and make kind of just what the market makes. Well, I mean, making 8% a year, 10% a year is really not getting you ahead. I mean, traders will make 20%, 30% a month. So it's a little bit different. Now, on the flip side, you would say, well, if they are that smart, why would anybody ever use a financial advisor? Some people don't actually want to make any money. They just want to outpace inflation. And this was something that was eye-opening for me. Like when I went to the trading floor at Wells, I was completely blown away because there was only like one small little section of cubicles that was the actual trading floor for stocks. And then the other 90% of it was all fixed income. Most rich people are not in the game to make money. They're in the game to not lose money and outpace inflation with their money because they got more money than they need, which was very different. I was like, wait, don't they want to make more and more and more? They're like, nope. They don't even care. If inflation is 2, they want to make 3 to 5%, and that's it. They don't want their market anywhere. They don't want their money anywhere near the market, so they can't lose it. They want guaranteed income. They want those kinds of things, and it was really eye-opening for me. And then when I got to meet market makers after that time period, learning from the market makers, really kind of what happens, completely changed my view as well. So FAs are in this for the long haul, and they play statistics basically saying that, okay, well, these things will typically appreciate at this value, and that's kind of where they go in. But the problem is with a lot of those tables, like during the last financial crisis, like when we had the big crash in 2008, guess what? Everything went down. So it didn't matter what you were diversified in, your accounts took a 30 or 40% haircut. Now, had they understood how to use options, they could have hedged that account and done a dynamic kind of trading strategy. Like Warren Buffett did make all his money trading stock. Warren Buffett made all his money trading options, okay, particularly in Coca-Cola. And he used a dynamic hedging strategy with options. Every time it went down, he bought more. And then he bought another kind of protection on there. And every time it went down, he bought more. And that's how he accumulated such a huge position. His deal with Bank of America in the financial crisis, he basically bought warrants, things that you and I could not buy, and basically said, I'll buy it for this price. And it was so much money they had to take it. And guess what Bank of America did? It went from 6 all the way back up to where it is today. He made an absolute killing on there. And it's just because he said, okay, I'm gonna buy it at this thing, but it's not something you and I could have bought. So all this advice we get out there, there's a whole separate side to it. I could literally spend hours talking about it. But so for me, like I said, I don't trade stock options because I can't. My wife is regulated. I am prohibited from doing it. And if I did try to do it, I would have to like send them all my trades ahead of time and get them approved, and it's such a hassle. As it is, they have access to be able to look into all my accounts, and it's one of the reasons why I'm like kind of prohibited from posting, hey, listen, I made this much on this and this much on it. It's just too much of a hassle. So I have to kind of keep it a little bit more reserved. But that's why I do these sessions and I set things up for people ahead of time. So again, this is one of those things that we set up last night and we talked about. All right. All right, going over pound New Zealand. Okay, I warned you guys this is a pair that we did definitely not want to touch because of the volatility of it. You can see that the pound dollar, pound yen absolutely went crazy already. And you look at this one like, well, it doesn't look that bad, right? I mean, it's it's kind of in context with everything else, right? It's not bad. Well, this one is about 70 pip move, okay, in 2 candles. So not as violent as it could have been, okay? It's more like this. But same situation, okay? When we look to the left, we can see that we had, a previous pop here. We had a previous pop here. It's kind of eating these zones away, and then all of a sudden we get this area, right? And you can see that this popped. Was it fresh? No, it was an area here. Okay, well, let's look at that, right? There's the area. And oh my gosh, what did we happen to run into? Wow, look at that. It just happened to hit an area. Again, what did price do? Rallied up, rallied up, rallied up, put us right inside of a 30-minute zone when news came out, and bam, collapsed right back down 186 pips. So same scenario, very high in the curve. What do? We ran right into sellers at the top. We came up, it retested it, it went lower. We're forming lower highs, lower lows. Again, it was more or less like clockwork. And again, you guys can see here, there's the spike. It was up and down, and it really on the 4-hour, you can't even really see the blip, but what did it do starting at 11 o'clock? Same thing. It started the rally up. Again, put a retrace in, went higher, ran into the first fresh zone because, again, once we came to here, you can kind of see this is the next time we had a big drop. But what caused that big drop? What caused this base? It was the reaction off of this zone. And there you go. That's what we ran into right beforehand. As I mentioned last night, again, I would not. This is not one that I traded. I would not have traded this just because the volatility on this pair can be absolutely huge, as well as the spread. Right now it's 9 pips. Okay, so again, if I don't have to pay 9, don't pay 9, right? But again, is it technically a good trade setup? Sure, sure. It went right to a zone right before news happened, which signifies that the market was already preparing for what was about to happen. Okay, so interesting how it works out. Looking at New Zealand. All right, so look at New Zealand. So it respected it, one time we pushed back down, we broke through, we pulled back again. It really hasn't moved at all in one day. Okay, we're still stuck in this sideways basing area, this rally straight up, this level of basing, and then this kind of collapse. So the one thing I do like about it is we did actually get some clearance. We did actually get some white space. It did come back and test. It didn't grab orders at the most ideal area. But again, we are, at this point, we'd be considered in an uptrend setup. Okay, we do have a bit to go. We are in an area of sellers. But I don't know. It did spend 5-6 days there, so it's kind of one of those things. Is it the strongest level? No, I'd probably rate it as like a B, right? A B or maybe like a B minus, C plus, right? So it's not ideal, although there are sellers there, so we do have to be a bit careful of that one. So if we do get another push higher and we do break above, any targets would be obviously up here at the 64.79-ish area. But for me, actually be looking more to short up in that area. Again, we have a little bit of a zone here, a little bit of a turn here, and then some big areas. I'm at that point, I'm basically looking for somewhere to get short. I'm looking for a reason to short this thing. And again, we've had such a big rally up right now. Looking at the 4 hour, again, we pulled back. If this is as high as we get in this kind of retracement, yeah, I'll be looking to obviously get in the shorts a little bit quicker, right? Again, it's coming back. It's giving us the white space, but there's your lower high, right? If this does not continue to rally up and it starts to turn red on us, there's a lower high. Okay, we already have a lower low here, right? From here down, as soon as we put and the candle goes red and gets below here, we're into a lower low again. So there's our 2 that we need to kind of show this that we're in a trend reversal territory. Okay, but again, right now, biggest problem I have in New Zealand is it going to move enough for what we need to be able to make some money worth, versus the risk. As you guys can see, the spread is about 6 right now. It is a little bit high. And again, if I don't have to take 6, this one, typical target in this one is 25, 30 pips. But if I have to risk 6 for it, is it really worth it? Maybe not, right? I think there's better opportunities out there. Now, looking at dollar Swiss. Okay, dollar Swiss was able to talk about this, came down, ran into the area of buyers. Again, these ascending candles. And the big question last night, again, here's where we are right now. It's the 19 candle. Okay, go back and you can see the 19 candles right here. We were kind of driving up and I'm like, let's see what it does when it gets to this area. Well, it went through. It sucked all the way back down again. Kind of went up again, sucked back again, and is kind of at the high, right? You can see that it really lost a lot of momentum over the last 16 hours. Now, is this the explosive kind of push that we like through, right? Do we like, we'd like to get some white space under this thing, right? But do we have it right now? A little bit, but is it really, really good? I mean, does it come back and retest? I mean, kind of, but have we gotten really, really clean separation? The answer is no, right? And if you look to the left, what are we running into? Well, we're sitting in a level of basing right now. It hasn't been able to go through it yet. So although I want to say that, and I feel like at this point it does want to rally a bit higher, it's got a speed bump. It's kind of having a really big issue with right now. So I don't know that this is really the best opportunity for us. I do believe that we're going to have dollar strength continue the rest of this week. I do think that this is going to continue to move higher, but I think it's going to be very grindy. If Trump makes any comments, starts tweeting, obviously this is going to start moving around. I don't know with what's going on the rest of this week if there'll be too much. The one thing that I thought may, potentially kind of come out would be is if the Canadian election was a little bit more. I mean, like I said, it's a minority government up there, so it is a little bit, it's not as strong as it technically was last time for them. The ruling party actually lost a lot of seats. But I'm curious to see if Trump is going to make any type of comments about, renegotiating with Canada. They are obviously in a weakened position government-wise. They have a lot of things that are going on, and I'm curious to see if Trump is going to try to take advantage of that and maybe renegotiate and see if we can get some type of a better deal. Before their economy, like they know that they're in a precarious position because if they start to kind of really push back a lot and it hurts their economy and they start to move into somewhat of a recession, um, basically the Liberal Party is done. So they know that they're in a very difficult situation right now. So if Trump makes a comment or a tweet, I could see this pair starting to grow some legs and start to move. But he hasn't, really kind of he hasn't thrown that gauntlet down there yet. I'm interested to see if and when. Okay, but right now it's kind of there's not a lot there. 5 pip risk, just with the spread. So we'll see. Looking at dollar CAD. There we go. All right, so what did dollar CAD do? Okay, we talked about this being at the bottom end of the range, right? And we talked about getting any type of retest back up in the zone. So did we get it on the 4 hour? Yes, right? We did. We got, enough of an area here that we could definitely draw a triangle, right? From here to here to here. Okay, and you guys can see that it actually looks pretty good there. Wow, it never looks that good on the lower time frame. But it did. It came back up again, and you guys can see, about 8, 9 o'clock this morning, we reacted to the election. It kind of pushed back down again. It hasn't really been a crazy move. Again, you can see this 4 hour candle, the 7 a.m. one. I mean, it literally spiked all the way up and kind of came back down again. So not a huge violent move. I think a lot of this was stifled to the downside because we are sitting in this buying area. You guys can see, I mean, we got within, what is this, 130, move this up so I can clear it. 130.70 to 130.64. So we got within 4 pips or 6 pips of a daily demand zone. Okay. I think that's what stifled a lot of this downward movement. And again, the election is, they're happy with it. It's nothing too crazy. Again, we know the entity that's in there right now. So again, it's always different when it's a new person because you don't know what they're going to do. There's the things that they say they're going to do, but then there's what they actually do. There's like the campaign promises and then what they actually do. Well, you already know the guy in there. You already know what the guy's in there capable of. So it's a little bit, a little bit easier to kind of tolerate that one as a market. And again, we didn't really see, if you look at this one, it's moved 5 pips in 24 hours up, right? So not really a lot with everything that happened. Again, later this week, tomorrow, nothing. That was basically it. We'll probably see some movement on Friday. Okay, this is not a double release Friday. It is only in the U.S. at 8:30, and it's core durable good orders. It's supposed to be down. So durable is supposed to be down point 5, and core durable is supposed to be down 0.2. So that'll give us a bit of a catalyst. I think that may help us kind of get some movement in this one. Ideally, I'd like to be a little bit lower. I would like to be below that 130.64 by Friday, and then I'd be looking to take some type of a long base off of news. But right now, again, it's we have a downtrend set up, but it's a downtrend set up into an area of buyer. So you guys know how I feel about that. I'm gonna be a bit cautious, and even lower time frames, you're not really seeing much movement in 24 hours on this one. Dollar yen. Out of the area by 9, but I'm kind of like, is it pausing? All right, so we talked about this last night, right? So we were seeing a little bit of a pullback, and it looked like it was starting to falter, right? Now we have a lower low, right, from this kind of high peak right here, right? So we have a lower high, which again, that's pretty important as well. You're seeing, and again, if you want to draw a trend line, great, do it. But we're seeing price, and it pulled back, and then what did it do? It pulled back. We said that, again, this gold line would be a big deal. It actually went down to kind of the start of this move, this last little burst, and then just stopped. It kind of went sideways. Now, this one didn't get the same type of movement. If you guys look, let's see where we at. Right in here, you guys will see this big spike down here at about 2:30 in the afternoon, and then it just flattened out. Okay, it didn't really do much, and it stayed within, really since that time, it's been stuck within a 4 pip range. Now, considering the drop in indices, right? Let me pull that up real quick. Oh, you know what? Where am I going to pull that up at? save that picture, did I? I thought I had it up. Let me pull this side. Put one more chart in here real quick for you guys. Oh no. Come on, come on, come on. Welcome message. Where is it? A good kind of snip this over. Bam. All right, so you guys looking at this. This is kind of what we dealt with, right? We started to see right in here, right here. That is where Brexit actually came in. Actually, I think, let's see, where is it? It's actually this candle right here. You guys see that candle? That's the candle. That's where Brexit came out. You guys can see, how did the market react? Market basically went straight down, right? And quite a big move, right? We went from 310 all the way down. Again, that was by what, 430, right? 20 points to the downside. So, but we didn't see the same type of movement over here in dollar yen. Okay. Very, very interesting. Typically, you will see a bit more movement, but this flatlined. Okay, and again, I think a lot of that had to do with the dollar necessarily. Again, the dollar's helping stabilize it. So where we are now, I'm definitely a bit more bearish in this pair. I do feel that, again, if we can get another little kind of attempt, another push forward and get a little bit more of a, it's like some type of movement down here, right? Again, movement over here. Let me change this to the right color. Right? Something over in here gives us now a new lower low. Okay, as soon as we have that lower low in here, I'm all over it, right? Lower highs, lower lows, that's more of a trend confirmation that we are flipping and turning. And again, we've pushed rather high up. We didn't quite get to the zones. Again, this is the guitar string the guitar string pair. Didn't quite make it up there. I was looking for this, but I was waiting for it to go a bit higher, and we didn't even get that high, right? Yeah. So I don't know. You guys will see last night, right? Well, here was from yesterday at the same time, right? Here it says 1930 at the bottom. Here was the 1930 candle. What did we talk about? It went up into that same little tiny zone that I talked about and then kind of bounced around. So that same little dinky trade that I talked about yesterday, and actually we had it for a little bit less risk than this, but same trade worked out again had you taken it. All right. Again, like I said, my eyes were on the pound, and that's really what I focused on today. I didn't focus on this pair, but again, same setup for what you could have taken it for. All right. Is there any light reading you recommend for how and why currencies react to certain economic? Vanessa, there's different things out there that talk about it. Most of it really has to do with correlations, and I kind of hesitate to give you anything with it just because, again, you know, the correlations are nice to know, but at the end of the day, it's more important that you're able to read the price action because it's price action that moves. It's not really the currencies. Like, I don't really care what the news release is. If you get into it saying, well, hey, wait a second, if this is supposed to be, an example is this, right? Here, let me pull forex factor in. You could say, well, hey, PMI, right? Forex factor is saying if it's above 50, that means expansion. That means, oh, if the actual is it, it's supposed to do this. And what you do is you start to become biased into the role, saying, well, hey, if it's good, it's going up. And then you get into a position, all of a sudden it goes straight down. You're like, why did it do that? It says right here that the usual effect is if it's actually greater than forecast, it's good for the currency, and that goes up. Unfortunately, that's not how the markets actually work. The more and more people that get in there and look at these things, and the more knowledge and data is out there, what the big money wants you to do is it wants you to know that, hey, if this number is good, it's going up, because then you'll buy. So that means that they can turn around and sell it, right? Because remember, for them to sell something, you have to buy it. And for somebody to buy something, there's got to be dumb enough, somebody dumb enough to sell it to them, right? For lack of a better word. So I'm always cautious when, people are like, hey, I want to master those economic news events. I honestly don't care. I mean, I know the numbers from doing this long enough and from reading them, but I'm not like, oh, if this is going to come in at 2 point, if this manufacturing number here for France comes in at 48.1, it's going to go this. I don't really care. I care more about where is it showing me that buyers and sellers are, because I know at the end of the day, the news doesn't really necessarily matter. It's going to act as a catalyst. It's going to make price move where it was going to move anyway, just a lot faster. Okay. So kind of a long answer, but that's the best answer that I can give you. Right. I don't want you to get too focused on all this and this and this. Now, I think you did download the report, right? The news trader report. If you didn't, I can shoot you a link for it. But the news report does give you the approximate kind of averages about how far certain news events will move when there's a miss. And again, it takes all the average moves. And it's kind of factored into how often does it miss, and then how far what are the prices within that range. So obviously that's a fluctuating thing. But there's a report. I think it's like 54 pages or something like that. It was long. You have to do exclamation point bet and then below 10. No, I didn't. Okay, I'll put the link up. There'll be a webinar next Tuesday night, a special webinar for Nadex on the parabolic retracements, and it was inside of there. Okay. All right, guys, that was the last pair. I'm not going to cover the other three. They're too small and not with nothing really tomorrow. I'm not going to cover them. I'm a little bit time crunched tonight. So with that being said, let me jump over and let's do our giveaway. So right now, only one person is in. Again, like I said, it's not our normal time. You guys will be able to get into this all night long. The way you get in is you do exclamation point bet, then type in above or below, and then you have to pick a number of pip chips in increments of 10. You could do 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, whatever you want to do. Ernest, you have to have exclamation point bet and then a space, and then below, and then a space, and then 10. But you do have to do your ticket as well. Okay. As far as your tickets go, guys, there's 3 of you in right now. There's more of you in. Like I said, some of the guys are not going to be happy because they weren't here tonight. But like I said, we bumped the time 2 hours forward, so not the end of the world. So your chances are pretty good. Vanessa, make sure you do exclamation point ticket. There we go. You're good. If you steal it from Ernest again, I am going to laugh. It will be absolutely hysterical if you win a second time. But Josh is going to be pretty excited, and Will's in here too. Okay. Like I said, we're missing Ryan, James. We're missing a bunch of the group tonight. And Sam Pun, if you are still here, do me a favor and type in exclamation point ticket real quick. Might as well get into the contest if you were here. All right, I'm going to close it down. I don't know if he's still here or not. All right. I'm going to give him another 7 seconds just because I know there's a delay. All right. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm closing it down. I put work on pause and I'm in a conference. Nice. All right, winner is. Oh, it's Will. Will had a 25% chance. Congratulations, Will. Good job. I know, again, like I said, off time tonight, guys. I appreciate you guys coming in. Like I said, I'm sure a bunch of people will be watching this one on giveaways. So let me go in here and give Will his 25. Congratulations, Will. James will post a dancing baby picture later, I'm sure. And you guys are good to go. All right, guys. So with that being said, I will leave the oil trade running overnight. Again, exclamation point bet, below, above, and then a pip chip total. Okay. I will take a picture of that. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a picture of here. I'm gonna put this in Discord right now, guys, so you guys can see it. You guys are gonna laugh. There you go. So everybody can see it. I am leaving the oil question for the overnight, so you can still get in. There we go. All right, guys. So with that said, I am out of here. I'm actually heading out to a game, and I will be drenched, but I will catch you guys tomorrow night. Tomorrow night will be at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, not 7, and I'll catch you guys then. Talk to you later.